Alright, hey everybody, my name is Ramses Valle. Today's presentation for my midterm, I did Auguste Rodin. He's a sculptor, a French sculptor, and let's get to it. Born in November 12, 1840 in Paris, France. Died on November 17th, 1917, Meudon, France. Known to be a sculptor, his wife was Rose Barrett, born into a poor family, and the biggest achievements that he has accomplished and were actually really recognized are The Thinker, The Gates of Hell, and The Kiss. Auguste Rodin was born in France 1820, where he was raised by a poor family. And actually, when he was raised by a poor family, he really had nothing else to do. Excuse me. He had nothing else to do. So, in his meantime, when he was 13, all he did was draw and learn and model, type of stuff like that. And going up to the following up at the age of 17, he opted to attend a university of, I'm not going to butcher this name, it's right then and there, I don't know how to say it, but in order for him to join, he had to pass a competitive test, and he failed that 3 times and then called it quits. Even though Rodin was still talented and very talented at a young age, he had to call it quits because he still couldn't pass the test. So after that, he decided to go and do decorative stone art, and he did this in a way to make a living and for him to show his artwork later on. But of course, a hiccup in his life happened and occurred, and that was the passing of his sister Mary in 1862. And this actually traumatized and hurt Rodin, losing his sister and a family member that he dearly loved, and actually considered dropping it all and joining the church. But this was also put to a halt. Reason why, because he actually met the love of his life, Rose. Her full name is actually Rose Barrett. In 1864, they met. But funny thing is that they only married like a few weeks before her passing, and she passed in February 1917. And of course, here's the amazing the school they was trying to join, and there's Rose Barrett. Rodin's journey right here. In 1864, Rodin worked on a sculptor named The Man with a Broken Nose. And before he went there, he actually began working for a sculptor called, another sculptor, I'm sorry, called Albert Carrier Pugliese. When in 1864, when he was making the broken nose, it was actually rejected by the Soul exhibition. So even though he was making these entitled sculptors, he was just getting rejected every single time he presented his work. So his early also my bad. He also included like studies of Beirut, of his past wife. Like he also made portraits of her. But mostly Rodin was known for being a sculptor, not mostly a portrait type of guy. In 1875, at the age of 35, Italy saw his work, and actually, when he was actually getting recognized by the Institute of Other Sculptors in Italy, this actually motivated him. And even though after he was in Call It Quits too, he was not getting the amount of attention he wanted. His work was always getting rejected. So for this, this motivation actually helped him and actually inspired him. And two of the greatest sculptors and artists inspired him, and these were Michelangelo and Donatello. After his return to Paris, Rodin met his former master. His former master was Carrier Belleuse, who immediately asked for designs. And again, he made these designs for him. He made these sculptors for him. But even though he made them at his best of his ability, they were still like turned down. They just didn't want him. Of course, Rodin was kept getting turned down until one time he actually finally got the commission to make a statue for the city hall, and that was called. And before we get to the Age of Bronze, he actually worked with a lot of bronze material. That's why he named it the Age of Bronze, because most of his art was bronze, and he was really good at it. And of course, Auguste Rodin finally earned his title as the sculptor in 1880 at the age 40 for making, and he actually titled his first sculpture the Age of Bronze. So he called it the era of the Age of Bronze, and he also named his sculptor the Age of Bronze. And here I'm about to show you the sculpture he put in City Hall. That's the one that's in City Hall as well. This is the first one, the one that started it. The achievements. Though Rodin got his title at a very, very late age, mostly in his 40s, where artists are already, retired. They're, well, not retired, but like, close to retirement. They already done amazing things. Auguste Rodin was just starting his. One of his major projects was called The Gates of Hell, and The Gates of Hell was a drawn-out project that took him a while. Rodin made many sculptors, and many were acknowledged from Paris after they turned him down many times. So he had hidden potential. He really did, and Paris finally saw this after he got his title at age 40 and introduced two sculptors that he was known for, and they were called the Thinker and the Kiss. Both of the sculptors grew mass popularity and were placed in Rodin's museum in Paris. Yes, he also had a museum in Paris. The Gates of Hell was actually the drawn out project that took Auguste Rodin some time to complete. It was actually such a long project that it's actually unfinished. This was because he started it in 1880 and he died in 1917, like I said. And this was, even though it looks pretty good, he still had details that he wanted to add, and it says that the sculptor isn't finished. That's what he meant to say. And the sculptor, I mean, it looks great. It looks great. It was just unfinished. To him, it was unfinished, and a and of course yeah, it's unfinished. That's all I have to say. I mean, it's an amazing sculptor actually, and this is actually the original one. Of course, it's made out of bronze, and it stands at 635 centimeters in height, 400 centimeters in width, and 85 centimeters in diameter. Next on. The Thinker. The Thinker, I'm sure you guys would know once you see it. I've seen this actually in the in the movie called The Night at the Museum. The Thinker, who was called actually the first, the poet, was commissioned in 1880 as well. So was the Gates of Hell project. So he was making projects after projects during the Age of Bronze. And the Thinker was just a man who, of course, was sitting down with his left arm on one leg, the right one on his chin, in a curious thinking face. And the person that modeled for this was a actor from Dante the Divine Comedy, and it was actually owned by this man, Dante Inferno. And Augustus Rodin loved to watch this guy and perform, and he liked the play. He loved the play. He always admired the play, and he actually used other actors that actually participated in the Divine Comedy in his play and in his they used these actors as models for his other sculptors. And the sculptor is around 70 centimeters tall and also made out of bronze. The fun fact is when Rodin was making the Gates of Hell, of course, like I said, the Thinker was actually called, of course, the typo here, but it was actually the Age of Bronze. And here's a picture of it. There it is. It's actually in his museum. It's actually the first thing you'll see if you go to Paris and you go to his museum. That's the first thing you're gonna see. The Kiss was another project that he started in 1840 and ended in 1917. That one he actually did finish in time, and it's actually a very odd project because even though he was making bronze sculptors and he was doing all these crazy things with just this bronze material, he actually made this one out of I think it was marble. Yeah, right here, completed out of marble, and it actually stood as 181.5 centimeters in height, 112.5 centimeters in width, and 117 centimeters in diameter. And the people who actually modeled for this again was two actors from Dante's The Divine Comedy, and it was named Paolo and Francesca. and apparently he had a background to this, and it was said that the amount of love these two had was enough for them to wander hell together. That's a way of how Rodin wanted to express his sculptor, and it actually took like Rodin 10 years to collect all that marble because marble back then was not easy to collect, and for that it did take a while for him to make that sculpture, but it's also well renowned and known throughout his time era and today. And there it is. The finale. Was as sorry. Rodin with all his work became a big hit actually. He was admired in America, Germany, and Austria, England, and France. Of course, that's when Germany took all the paintings and everything. Of course, they I mean they admired paintings, and that's when Germany wanted to take paintings from different places because Germany really admired um, paintings, and so did France, England, and Australia, and they actually built replicas of the gates of hell in their museums, so you can actually see what they look like. Augustus Rodin had many friends, of course, and he met very amazing people. He was known to be one of the best, and he was the best, and lived up to the expectations despite doing great things at only the age of 40. And he only had a small amount of time, but in that small amount of time, he created many great things. And with that said, Augustus Rodin, the sculptor, passed away on November 17th, 1917. And there's the man himself. Resources. That's it.